Hello, Ninja Bear here, and I just wanted to go over a quick 2500 puzzle. Uh, Maybe the way that I've been working on these puzzles and getting pretty good at Puzzle Rush again, not again, but for the first time, uh, we might be working our way up to some 2800 and 3000 puzzles within the next month, or maybe a couple of weeks if I actually pursue a little bit stronger of my puzzle score. But we'll see. And this is a 2500 puzzle. Like I was saying, a 2518, I believe. We'll look at that, what it is on the back button, I'm sure, afterward. And right now, I want you to notice that we have a passed pawn as black, and we have a weak b5 pawn, and we have an inactive bishop on h6, while we have a slightly inactive rook. And I say slightly because at least it controls the back rank a bit. I don't know. But an inactive rook for the most part on h8. Now, one of the ways that we could look at capitalizing upon this position is not all the time do passed pawns must be pushed, but the passed pawn here is actually a big strength, and we have two options, in my opinion, that look like good candidate moves. That's either A, to prepare a passed pawn to be pushed, or B, for the passed pawn to be pushed. And other options would be that seem a little weaker, would be like defending the b5 pawn, which might set us up for a potential slower play. But white, I think, has a little bit of counter activity going on, such as being able to potentially attack that b5 pawn again with bishop c6 and locking it down onto a dark square, which could only make it attacked by the rook for white, but it would lock down our the black's bishop for being able to get over to potentially a3, or some type of maneuver of doing like b4, and we'll see that's the kind of like in the puzzle the solution. See that key b4 square. Imagine that the bishop was on b4. It immediately right now it would be very interesting, as we would be threatening to take the rook, and it would be white to move. But we would have this idea of being able to play c2 with tempo, because the rook would not be able to take the bishop because we're threatening to promote. So just a little interesting kind of idea, if we were playing some type of bug house or something. But we'll see that this kind of thinking gets us into the solution for the puzzle. So should we prepare it with rook c8? Well, after rook c8, rook takes b5, pawn push. White is actually slightly defending here by being able to play rook to b4 check. I believe is actually winning after rook b4 check. King has to move. The only squares are to c5 and c3, and white's going to go ahead and win the rook by playing rook to c4 check with the bishop defending, and that's going to have to make our black king have to move, and from then it moving, white will take our rook on c8. So if you're able to see that, that is perfect, because like I said, we probably might not want to prepare to push. Preparing to push seems a little slow. So what if we push immediately? Well, it's kind of a forcing move, which is an easier calculation. White has to defend by playing king to d2. So king d2, now we can go ahead and threaten to play c1 by bringing our rook to c8. And white has to defend once again to king to c1. From there, we have a maneuver that is a very interesting maneuver where black will go ahead and take his bishop and in 2 moves place it on b4, the b4 square that I was talking about. And we have a cheeky little tactic that after we're threatening on b4 that we want to play bishop to d2 check with our rook behind the pawn. After that, the king has to move and we'll promote with check. So let's go ahead and play this out. We will play out to here. And to prepare for bishop to b4, the only way, now if white wants to lose his rook, he could, or he could have taken the pawn, but it should end up being the same result. Bishop d2 check, and black promotes. So there was a couple of different variations there, like I was saying, a rook takes, but it ultimately leads to the same position where I was talking about that b4 square is a key square that we could look ahead toward to be able to find the solution to this problem. And we had to go ahead and go through another variation as far as preparing, because of preparing for the pawn to be pushed, I think was a strong move as well. Just the line was a little bit more forcing. Sometimes it's easier to do one to 2 moves ahead for each line together and see which is the more forcing line. And the more forcing line sometimes is better to calculate to get that out of the way. But if you miscalculate, you can actually end up losing potentially a good position because that might have been the best line. So the forcing line sometimes, like I said, is better to calculate first. But we did not do that here. So maybe for next time I will try to remember that, and for my own advice, be able to take that as a good piece of advice. But there you have it, the solution to the problem. And this was a 2500 puzzle, like I think I said. So, oh, here it is, 2579. So it took me 2 minutes and 38 seconds, and 1 minute and 15 seconds is target time. Pass rate was 38.8. So there you have it. Have a good day.